What's going on? Welcome to In the Tank with Keith Deyo and Aaron Hairston. I'm excited about our topic. Keith is on the road. He will be joining us shortly. However, living your brand. Now, this has been a subject of mine ever since I was an athlete, because really as an athlete, we are always looked at upon our performance, our influence, right? Our leadership skills, all those things that kind of come along with it. And so once you make it to the league, or you make it to the point where you get paid to play, now all of a sudden everyone around you has a role and a responsibility. And you can kind of lose yourself in that, right? You get excited, you get all fired up about, who you are and what everybody sees and expects of you. And, now you don't even know who you really are, because after the game stops, now what do? Right? Where do you find yourself living? And this is important because we've all been designed to accomplish great things in life. However, not all of us are seeking that, right? We're kind of gathering the pieces of the puzzle along the way. And so living your brand is something that we need to start working from the inside out. And, Keith and I, we talk about this all the time, is helping someone go from point A to point B to point C to point D and so on and so forth. And taking on the life's challenges and taking on the things that come along with the growth process. Now, it's very easy to fall into conformity, right? It's very easy to fall into that box of comfort because you can live by a badge. Right? Oh, I'm an executive in a company, or I'm a computer engineer, which is something I lived by for a long time. And I thought it was fancy. I thought it felt good to tell people I was a computer engineer because they would look at me as someone being successful. However, I wasn't happy there. Right? I wasn't happy being a computer engineer. Yes, I liked the recognition it came with. Yes, I liked the paycheck that it came with. However, there were days where I really cared less to be there. And that wasn't fair to the company I was working with, right? They gave me the badge. They gave me the recognition. They gave me all that. And so now here I am with a conundrum. I'm stuck, right? With a problem of, okay, well, where do I find me again? And so I had to do some soul searching. I had to dig within. I dug into some tools, right? Some books, some audio books. And I love audiobooks because I can listen to them multiple times when I'm doing other things. Now, obviously, we don't want to multitask too much because obviously we can only give 100% to something. And then actually when we start to dimming it down and dumb it down, we don't have, the attention as we need. Okay. However, during those audiobooks, I started listening to the constant common thread, which was work on developing your best self, work on becoming more, work on finding yourself. And so this scared me. Now, I lean on my faith all the time, right? I put the Lord in the middle of everything I do. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have known where to begin. Okay. So when you're talking about your brand, it starts with your name. What do you want others to think of your name? When your name is spoken, well beyond your life here on earth, when your name is spoken, what do you want that name to represent? And this is a big question, right? Because I tell you right now, it's not going to represent the company that you worked with. It's not going to represent that. That may be a piece of it, right? But your brand, it starts with your name. What do you want others to think of you 100 years from now? What do you want your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren or your great, so on and so forth, children in your family to think of you, right? Because now, if you're not focused on, really helping them to realize hold on, Keith's coming on. If you don't help them to realize the importance, you only get one of you, okay? And this is where we have to focus. We have to focus on what was I created to do. As long as that grind, then we can go out there and make it legendary. So what's going on, Keith?
Yes, hitting the road, taking care of business. So I look like you today.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, we're always available, man, to plug in and be helpful. So I've already started talking about branding, and the concept that I'm sitting on right now is, what do you want the world to remember when your name gets spoken? 40, 50, 80 years from now, right? Because it's not going to be the badge. It's not going to be the company you work with, right? It's going to be the things that you contributed to. It's going to be the impact that you made, on the world that you live in. Right? Because this is what's important. And I guess a lot of people out there, right? A lot of people out there don't know where to begin, right? And they feel something tugging at their heart, right? They wake up every morning and yes, they're thankful for their jobs. Yes, they're thankful for their environment. However, they're not really living their full self. Or they look at that question and say, oh, well, what's the world going to remember me as? And there really much isn't, there's not much there, right? And it will go for, what do you go? It will go forgotten, right? And so we don't want that. So Keith, where have you helped people to find themselves, right? How do you brand yourself, and how do you live by your brand, right? In finding what it is that you do best.
Well, let's see if this works. I don't know if there's an echo. Is that good? All right. Where I find myself in serving at the highest capacity for others is when I serve first at the highest capacity for self. So when I make sure that my buckets are full and I don't look outside for anything extrinsic, I make sure that I am true to myself and I'm acting from source. What I can then do for others is limitless. And I know that that's what I will be remembered for, always having an answer, always being able to solve a problem, and if not me, then I know somebody who does. A person that's so deeply rooted in growth and contribution that the ability to attract and manifest greatness into my life and teach others how to do the same is what I know I am currently being remembered by and for. And living in the moment, allowing people to understand that they possess everything they currently need to be their greatest self, and not ever giving them something and giving them fish rather than teaching them how to fish. So I'm a very difficult person at times to be around because of that. But when someone hangs around long enough, they're like, oh man, this has been a lesson this whole time. And they start to realize the gift.
And that's huge, right? Because you've been able to listen to that voice and obey that voice, and knowing that the only way that you're going to follow or track that progress of you becoming one with what you've been designed to do is making that voice as loud as possible, right? And making sure that that's there, it's present, it's the first thing you do, and you fill that bucket with gratitude, knowing that no matter what obstacles you're going to be facing, emotionally, physically, in life, it's what you feel inside that really fills that joy and that fulfillment, right? And so as we just want to allow everyone to just find that place in your life, whether it be a time, whether it be a thought, whether it be an idea, whatever it may be, just find that place that really brings true joy to your heart. And it doesn't have to do with money. It doesn't have to do with success and fame and recognition. I'm talking about that place where it makes you smile to be alive, where it makes you just be so thankful that you get to live today, okay? And we get caught up because we start thinking about activities, we start thinking of responsibilities, right? We start thinking of all these things that people are judging us for. And none of that ever matters, right? It's what you see in the mirror. And are you finding yourself smiling at yourself in the mirror, or are you dodging yourself in the mirror? And if you're dodging yourself, all right, if you're dodging yourself, then allow yourself permission to forgive yourself for not focusing on you. And I'm not talking about selfishness. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is making sure your bucket is full when you go out into the world to serve. Because you're not doing anyone any justice, including yourself, if you go out into the world empty. And this is so important, because this is something I had to learn. I thought I could walk through life with the badges that I've accumulated along the way, whether it been professional ball player, to leader on the field, to captain, to computer engineer, to software developer, to programmer, to all these things, personal trainer, nutritionist, whatever you want to say, right? I thought that I lived through that brand. And what I found is the only way I was fulfilling my prophecies, what I've been created to do, is when I can feel joy inside my heart, not expecting anything in return. And that goes to say, gift yourself that ability, right, to go out there and seek what you've been called to do. And both Keith and I, we work on this on a daily basis, right? The struggles, the ideas, the messages that come along the way, we capture those. Some of them we can translate, some of them we can't. And it's just a timing thing, right? We come along the answer along the road, we put it in our pocket, and you know what? We pull out that note, we pull out that message, we pull out that idea to someone who is more accomplished in their life and their goals than we are at the moment. And we just ask them, what does this mean? What does this mean? And they go ahead and they give us their translation of it. And that's where it becomes special, because you start to realize that everyone around you. And so, Keith, what are some of the tools that you've used to really identify your true north, right? Your joy in your heart that wakes you up every day and continuing to make that voice louder and louder.
I think the most successful tool I've used is the consistency of the miracle morning. I think that was huge for me when I found that, because consistency was what I was often lacking, and it's being consistent in the allowing yourself to appreciate and receive the gifts that you currently possess, and stop looking for more, or stop asking for more before you recognize what you currently have. And so once you currently recognize for what you currently have, you will then understand that true law of attraction, because like will attract like, but lack will not attract like. Lack will attract more lack. So when I figured that out, and I started with my list of what I'm grateful for, and that list is, if I don't feel it in my heart, then I don't allow it to be true gratitude. I have to feel it in my heart, and so that's where I tap into to find what I'm grateful for. And because I'm able to do that, it's like going to the well and dipping your bucket down into that water and bringing it back up. It's always finding that bucket full, and then once you do that, you then have so much more to give, and you're not concerned with what the day may bring, or what the day didn't bring to you yesterday, or what bill isn't paid, or what you didn't get done. What it allows you to do is be in the moment and define yourself by the moments in life, not by what you did or didn't do in the past or what you're about to do, but it allows me to be defined in the moment by doing that every morning and being consistent.
And that's huge, because it just becomes more and more aware of where you're showing up in your day. And so many of us, we wake up super early in the morning, right? We get to see the sunrise, and we start to breathe in that air, right? That fresh air and that fresh life, right? That we get to live another day. And a lot of us forget that, right? We take it for granted. We wake right up in the morning, we get right into our task list, and we just start crushing it. And we start going at it. And we start to forget, how precious it is to get to do what we do, regardless of where you're coming from. And Keith, I love the analogy that you had mentioned, and I heard it a few times in some of the audios I listened to. The bucket's always going to bring up what's in the bottom of the well. And so unless you're filling that well up, with substance and things that you can bring up when you go dipping in the well, the bucket's going to be empty when it comes up. And when it comes up and it's empty, how can you share? How can you be for someone else if your bucket's empty and your well is becoming lesser and lesser abundant? And this is the key, right? Because life is not about what you accumulate, okay? It's what you impact and what you create. That's what life's about. And this is something that's been so profound to both Keith and I as we travel the earth, man, and we talk to people and we connect with people, we're realizing that our lives are important. And so are many others that don't even realize how important their life is. And so if we can just help one life to decide that they're going to live for joy in their life, right? They're going to put the Lord in the middle of everything they do. They're going to grow, within themselves, not because of what the recognition they receive on the outside, not the badges that they see on the outside. That's just what they've been called to do on the physical side. But on the emotional side, the spiritual side, we have so much more to give. And unless we give recognition to that fact and acknowledgement of it, that's what we won't lose. We will lose ourselves, and we'll lose that true joy. Because no matter how much money you make, no matter how famous you become, there's some of the most, the most sad stories of very successful people being highly depressed, right? And committing suicide and doing things that are just out of this world. Like, why would they do that? They had the whole world. And, one thing I love that Jim Carrey says, he goes, my wish for everyone is that they become rich and famous so that they realize that it wasn't ever about them, right? It wasn't about what you accumulate on the outside, it's what you build up on the inside that matters, so that you have that joy, you have that fulfillment. and just recognize the fact that not everybody's going to get it at first, but everybody needs that message. And so I applaud you for leading first. I applaud you for deciding to go first. I applaud you for looking in the mirror and saying, today's a brand new day and I'm going to create the best day I possibly can because I'm not promised tomorrow. And I'm going to be living for joy. I'm going to live for happiness because I know that as long as I see fulfillment in my life, that I'm living for my purpose. And that's so abundant. Thank you, Monique. Yes, it is so true. And I hope that you're finding need in hearing this message and delivering it to others, because I tell you right now, both Keith and I, we've just been given so much in a message, and we're trying to translate the best we can to get it all out there so that everybody can fill up their well so that their buckets come up more full than they did yesterday.
Absolutely. Aaron, one thing that I'm always reminded of is how precious life is. How tomorrow is not guaranteed. The next minute is not guaranteed. And if you feel like that is something that you're reminded of as well, well then share what needs to be shared. Be transparent to the world. Allow somebody to see your image or your brand and experience you on any medium, and then meet you in person and meet the same exact person they saw on that medium. Whether it be social media, blogging, podcasts, whether it be from afar, whoever they see, when they see you in that sense, allow that version of you to be so transparent when they finally meet you in person and get to know you, it's the exact same person they saw. That's what my wish is for you today. Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, and it could be your last time to allow the world to see you in that capacity.
I love that. I love that. And so think of the gifts and the talents and things that you haven't even took a risk yet on trying to really bring those things to life, because the last thing you can do is waste those gifts and talents and some of those blessings and some of those ideas and things you could have really made an impact on life if you really gave it a chance and you brought it to life. And so we just want to help everyone to just go forward today, understanding that no one can pay you what you're worth. They're only going to pay you for what the job that you're doing is worth. But remember that you are worth everything. You are priceless, and you were created perfect. And so don't believe otherwise. Whether or not you're judged otherwise or not, don't believe otherwise, because you are perfect. You are what you were been created to do, and it's inside of you that you have to bring out. And so thank you all for joining us every single tank, man, and just helping us to realize the message that we must deliver and interacting with us. And we thank you all for sharing this, and the hundreds of thousands of individuals that see this on replay and they share this on a constant basis. Being able to use this platform to help others grow, and to help others to really see what it is that life truly is all about. And not that me and Keith have the answers. We don't. We just know what we've been through, and so now we're going to share it out with you, so you to translate, so that you can share it with others. Right? It's the greatest telephone game in the world where the truth is spoken. And so we just want to wish you a fantastic afternoon. Go out there and crush your transformation Thursday. Go ahead and like, comment, share. Do whatever you need to do that's calling to your heart to make this message alive, so that everybody gets a chance to eat from it and bring that abundance back to their well, so that, like I said, when they go for the bucket, they put it in the well. It comes up with more substance than it did the last time they reached it. God bless y'all. Keith, have a safe trip, man. We'll talk to y'all soon. Take care.